Right. We can go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Hewins. I work in the admissions office at RISD. Thank you for joining us for our online open house. This session will focus on the graduate programs within the Interior Architecture Department at RISD. With us today, I have the faculty and support in the department here to answer your questions. And with that, I'll turn it over to them.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. My name is Eduardo Benamor Duarte. I'm a professor in interior architecture and the current graduate program director. I'm here joined by my colleague, Professor Department Head Wolfgang Rudorf, and Senior Academic Specialist Karen Bell. I'm glad to see you here today, and all of us are going to be talking about the graduate programs in interior architecture and how our graduate programs constitute a platform for learning, but also to experience graduate education at RISD. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what to expect about your graduate life here at RISD and in the Department of Interior Architecture. I'll be talking a little bit about the studio culture, opportunities for campus exhibitions, assistantships and fellowships that graduate students will have during their education, access to grants, materials funds, opportunities to engage with the community through curricular and extracurricular activities, opportunities for study abroad during your programs, during the regular semester, summer programs, or winter session courses. My colleague here, Wolfgang Rudorf, will be speaking a little bit about the curricula in detail for the three master's programs offered in our department. It will follow up by examples of studio work that I'll be sharing here with you, as well as other courses in the department, namely building technologies and history and theory and visualization. We will also highlight some special initiatives or pedagogical initiatives in INTAR, and most likely the special studios focusing on making and one-to-one simulations of projects. We'll end again by my colleague Wolfgang to speak a little bit about our faculty support here, also initiatives that happen in the department, such as publications and exhibitions, as well as finally to how you are expected in case you decide to enroll and be accepted to join a network of alumni in the world. So I'll begin by speaking a little bit about what to expect. When you join RISD, you expect a world of making, a world of creativity, a world of messiness in the studio. But most of all, the studio is also an opportunity to showcase your work, to make your work visible, and to make your hours and commitment to making a very, very part of our ethos. The studio is not only taking place in the CIT campus or at RISD, but is also taking place in initiatives such as guided study tours or experiencing out-of-gravity study tours. But most of all, you're also engaging with facilities in campus that help you to navigate your learning experience by engaging with facilities such as the Nature Lab, where a bio-design makerspace can help you understand living systems and new materials for your designs. You also be constructing hands-on structures that can be deployed in the RISD campus under specific courses that you might be taking, such as digital fabrication. You'll also be engaging with experts and on knowledge about building structures, such as in initiatives where you take our students to see specific canonical architectural examples, such as in Cambridge, the Cambridge architectural tour. Most of all, you'll be engaging during your studio visits with specialists, such as in the case of the visit to the exhibition design department at the Guggenheim Museum in New York, where you're guided through the process of making an exhibition from the point of view of the curator in the museum. But again, we're also part of a community, and you're working collaboratively, you're working together to realize your project. Most of the time, these projects have a public dissemination, which means that you are carrying your work to outside of campus. In this case, an initiative that my colleague here, also Wolfgang Rudolph, took the students to France and for a workshop residency at the Domaine du Bois Boucher. So campus is also an opportunity to connect with other fellow graduate students, but also exhibit your work. Your work is never done, your work is never completed. So all graduates have an opportunity every 2 years to curate and design a biennial. And that biennial happens in the gallery at the building where we are located, so Koffler, where grad students are invited to come up with an exhibition topic, design, and install their work with the support of the RISD campus exhibitions. These biennials are really an opportunity to also to look back at your own course of study, but also look back at the work of your colleagues and our incredible public events and community building events. Your work will always look good. But to look good, you also have to work very, very hard. And the culmination of your studies at RISD is the thesis show at the Rhode Island Convention Center. Every year, circa 200 grads present their thesis work for the public. There's a website, but there's also an enormous installation taking place every year. It's an opportunity for your families to reflect back at the investment on education, but also look forward into the future. Every 3 years, we also have a department triennial that somehow collects work and presents work from grads and undergrads in the department and really exposes the diverse forms of making and learning, from building technologies to material explorations to other one-to-one structures that are eventually replaced and represented in a wonderful building in campus where all departments have their graduate exhibits. So I will have to say that we engage in experimentation, but we also train professionals that actually work in campus. And assistantships and fellowships are a very interesting, that are a very robust form of supporting you financially, but also preparing you for professional practice. One of our students has, I'll just give you an example, designed and fabricated an exhibition for a program that took place at RISD a few years ago, and installed together with the support of the campus exhibitions team in the RISD Flick Library, a wonderful installation. And this installation is also part of their assistantship. So you get paid, but also you have mentorship for professional practice. And that same professional practice led one of our grads to apply for a graduate conference fund and get an assistantship to present research work done in the department at the International Student Congress for Architecture in Denmark. So these opportunities, together with access to materials funds, but also other travel grant funds, are accessible to all grads at RISD. another example that I would give, another exhibition in narrative environments, graduate student that applied for looking at wildlife and documenting wildlife for their thesis project, as well as research on healthcare environments, another conference fund, travel fund, graduate assistantship that support circa $2,500 for this research work. As I mentioned in the beginning, our graduate students are constantly in their design studios or in extracurricular activities, engaged in community practice or community development. Many times they take form of political initiatives, such as the Rhode Island State House Reimagine, or a competition that the group of adaptive reuse MA students work with faculty to reimagine what could be the State House, what could be the McKim-Midden white building, second largest dome in the country, and what could that public space or public forum could become in the future. So this initiative, along with other initiatives such as the Habitat for Justice, in this case particularly focusing on housing, access to housing, are somehow initiatives that the department is preoccupied with, involving students in pressing topics to understand accessibility, to understand the effects of climate change, and to the effects of repurposing larger infrastructure projects such as the Pell Studio or the Pell Bridge in Rhode Island, which is here repurposed as a new bike path. So, as I mentioned before, the students' experience is not resumed to campus, but also to a global experience that may take place with global travel courses that happen in the studio during the regular semester, that may have a 1 week presence outside of campus, or a post-studio presence outside of campus, such as the case of the interdisciplinary studio between textiles architecture and interior architecture in France, or a regular winter session course, 4-week course together with students from outside of the department, and in this case in Morocco, in North Africa, or in other places in the world. So the case of Portugal is that doesn't mean that RISD always has the same travel courses, but the travel courses somehow change every year, and they might be dependent on faculty interest, or also on a more institutional determination. A very important aspect of the summer program for the MA Adaptive Reuse is the presence in Denmark, that my colleague Wolfgang will speak a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, good morning. Yes, we are offering at INTAR 3 graduate program, the MA program. And as Eduardo just pointed out, the MA program starts with a 6 or 7 week summer course in Copenhagen. It starts in the second week of 3rd and 4th week of June, and then July. You also have during that summer program the opportunity to travel to Sweden and to Finland to experience the Scandinavian modernism and Scandinavian architecture in general. So it's a wonderful opportunity to get to know your colleagues who are enrolled in the program, and to experience adaptive reuse in Denmark and in other parts of Scandinavia, countries that always have been at the forefront of adaptable reuse and of sustainability. And then you will join the program in Copenhagen is taught by our colleague Heinrich Hermann, who has taught that program for many years right now, and is really familiar with the architectural context of Copenhagen and Scandinavia in general. Then you will join the fall term at RISD, at Intar in our CIT building, and you will have one of the core courses is theory of adaptive reuse, and you will also be enrolled in an advanced design studio. Our studios, and that is the same for the MA group and the MDes group, are always meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And those are long 5-6 hour studio days in which you will participate in an advanced design studio topic that is always changing and always offered in a different in a different context by our full-time faculty and part-time faculty. And your spring term is actually designed around what we have now called for the last 2 or 3 years a super studio, where you are participating in an adaptive reuse studio that is in particularly designed for your group, and it goes together with principles of adaptive reuse and an adaptive reuse seminar, and that like the Pell Bridge that was shown by Eduardo was one of those MA studio projects that often receive quite a bit of public attention, because they, like the Pell Bridge was initiated by the junior senator of Rhode Island, Senator Whitehouse. And so those studios then also have the opportunity to have an exhibition often that introduces your ideas and concepts to the wider public. You have during your stay at Intar the opportunity to participate in a number of electives, which allows you to reach also outside Intar's borders here and experience the wonderful departments at RISD, and yeah, just take a course and an elective that would really be either a wonderful making opportunity or a theoretical course. We offer now the MA program, I should have said, is a 1-year program. Our 2 MDes programs are 2-year programs, and the different to the MA program, where the candidates were or the students enrolled in the MA program already arrive at RISD with an undergraduate degree in architecture. The MDes programs, the 2 MDes programs, are 2-year programs, and they require an undergraduate degree, but not in the discipline of architecture or even a related discipline. You will, for those 2 programs, you come together in the summer, in a summer program which is offered at CIT. It's a 6-week program, and the program is designed in such a way that those who are joining into our out of discipline have the opportunity to actually get familiar with the discipline. They learn they learn important representational skills and making skills, and it is a really innovative program. There's again the opportunity for all of you to develop a community there It is an intensive program. It entails a wonderful exhibition in one of our lecture rooms, a transformation of that space, and it introduces you to the discipline of adaptive reuse and already to a degree for exhibition and narrative environments. So the adaptive reuse program, you have core lectures like history of adaptive reuse, and then you are going to learn about structures. You are going to learn about building systems, and then of course you are enrolled into advanced design studios. So your first semester after the summer program still is a studio that is designed specifically for you, but introduces you further, or in addition to the summer program, to adaptive reuse. And then the spring term and the fall term of your next academic year is then you have the opportunity to take an advanced studio. The way advanced studios at INTAR work, that's the same for the E&E and the adaptive reuse program. Faculty offers, introduces the topic, and you have the opportunity to participate in a studio lottery. And we always hope that, and you express your preference, and then from there, we always do our best to really enroll you into the studio that is your primary choice, or sometimes we may have to actually give you your second choice, but we are always trying to be as close as possible to your initial wish there. And then the interesting part about the two MDes programs, E&E and AR, is that you are going through a preparation sequence in order to arrive at your design thesis at the end of your studies. It starts in the AR program with investigating interiority and goes into design, where in investigating interiority, you are developing a thesis idea. Then it is being followed by design thesis prep, where you are actually now required to develop a strong thesis concept. And then with that thesis concept, you go into the thesis design studio, where you are translating your research and your theoretical findings into a building, a structure of some sort in the MDes program into an exhibition concept. In the E&E program, it's basically a similar setup, but instead of structures, you have support courses in topics in exhibition and narrative environment. You are having human factors is actually for both a really important aspect as well, representational skills, and again you are participating in design studios. There are always usually we offer five different advanced studios, and there are always two studios that are specifically designed for the exhibition and narrative environments. And students in the adaptive reuse focus are, of course, able to take an E&E studio if they wish, and vice versa.
So I'll be talking a little bit about student work and student work that may happen in each of the three graduate programs. So starting with the design studios, the MA Adaptive Reuse, as Wolfgang mentioned, is offered to students that have an experience with architecture and an architecture background. So 3 examples that I would like to share briefly. One, the one I mentioned before, the Rhode Island State House Reimagined, where students really look at new uses for the State House. So there's a requirement to understand structures, to understand building typology, to understand history and theory that somehow substantiates each design intervention. And we see here 4 design interventions. And one topic that we can't get away from is the effects of climate change and how climate change is strongly affecting the coastlines in the world, but mostly in Rhode Island. So a few years ago, or some years ago, students looked into confronting the sea level rising by projecting into the future and offering the community that may be affected solutions or possibilities to face those same changes, working with various types of technologies in virtual reality, augmented reality. The studio that we've also mentioned before, an adaptive reuse of a large scale infrastructure. So we're not only talking about buildings, but we're talking about existing structures, which is a very important aspect of interiority. That interiority does not necessarily relate to a room or a building, but relates to the essence of a structure that may be taking in the form of an infrastructure, bridge, or a state house, a very different civic structure. 4 proposals reimagining how a bike path along with various types of public programs could change the experience of the bridge. Other more initial studios that advanced MA take may look into adapting existing buildings, or in this case, heritage buildings or modern heritage buildings, such as the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, and really repurposing not so much the program for the museum, but creating or envisioning new ways to navigate the museum and navigate the content of the museum. Again, same relevance to heritage structures, looking at the Yale Art Center, the Louis Kahn Yale Art Center, and looking into ways of increasing or adding on to an heritage structure. So the required knowledge of architecture is definitely very important, because it somehow it becomes a post-professional degree in architecture, where your knowledge of building systems, your knowledge of program allows you to rethink about existing buildings. And we always focus on the importance of sustainability in our teachings, in the sense that the most sustainable building or the most sustainable building practice may actually be about conserving or adapting an existing structure. So that's not, we're not the only ones, but we've been doing this for quite some time. So the adaptive reuse studios, especially starting with the intro studio, deal very much with a sense of interiority from a building scale that is more, I wouldn't say manageable, but it's a smaller scale building. So this is an intervention or the design of a library space in a host building in the RISD campus. So students really explore the idea of an internal insertion, a design structure that is contained within a building, very different from the MA design studio work. We can see a sophisticated in representation that is very much supported by the faculty and the courses in visualization that the students get. Another example of an introduction to interior studies program, taking a building in downtown Providence and not so much adding, but subtracting an entire first floor, the first floor of the building to design an artist residency. So we're still talking about inter-studios, we're still talking about more of a speculative and formal exploration into the built environment. But again, what the visualizations that we see here are all taught in our department. And I think that's a very important aspect. Building up on what Wolfgang mentioned in regards to design thesis, it's a 3-semester enterprise. And by being a 3-semester enterprise, it frees graduate students to really choose a topic of their own, a topic that is global in the sense that our demographics are global. So many times the design thesis studio is focused on a topic of the student's background, in this case, an adaptation of a military armory towards a women's center for social center for women in Bangalore. But what we can see is a very deep focus on the history and sociology of the place, a very deep immersion on site visits, site tours, and then a very focused design proposal. Focus on materiality, focus on program, focus on meaning, and a very, very strong process. All theses are archived in the RISD Fleet Library. All theses are archived and disseminated in the Digital Commons platform. Another example of repurposing of an heritage site in Saudi Arabia as also design thesis studio project. Alongside the adaptive reuse studios, we teach the exhibition and design of narrative environments. And in this case, experience of place and space in real scale is very important. And this is an example of an advanced studio taught in our department, where students designed and collaborated with a material manufacturer to install a pavilion in Barcelona, in Spain, during the Barcelona Design Week, or a collaboration with the Cape Cod Museum of Natural History to look into new ways of integrating or displaying nature per se in the museum itself. The introduction to interior studies is really an opportunity to look into history and looking into history and curation. And this is an example of a studio taught by our colleague, full-time faculty, Francesca Leoni, looking into classical artifacts and their whiteness, or their possible appearance or possible transformation from a colorized artifact towards a whitification of the artifact. So along the studios, and very important to transmit to all of you, we really focused on preparing you for the profession, both as intellectuals, but also as practitioners, and also as individuals that are capable to communicate your design work. That's why building technology, history and theory, and visualization as communication are key to our curriculum. We really teach these 3 aspects through immersive experiences, through making, through drawing details in building systems, to making small mock-ups in building systems, to engaging with one-to-one scale from the drawing perspective to model making, using various facilities in campus to think about representation of curtain wall systems. But most of all, we are a school that prouds itself from thinking about a very tactile approach to teaching. So that tactile approach many times takes various different formats, whether it's through digital fabrication and the making of molds and models to represent various textures, but also integrating digital means to produce forms such as other platforms or interactivity and automation platforms to animate screens, components, to think about really the making of form from the computer to a material assemblies. We've also proud ourselves to teach history and theory in a radical and innovative way, where we involve our students in understanding the precedent, understanding theory of adaptive reuse as a unique place in the world. This is our colleague, Professor Lilian Wong, with the class of 2022. We also engage our students in the humanities and liberal arts courses by engaging with other faculty at RISD, and such as engaging history and theory by visiting actually canonical important buildings and learning how buildings shape citizens and are shaped by history, such as the IZO house or model house or case study house for accessibility and human factors in Rhode Island. But most of all, when we engage with history, we also engage with technology by engaging photogrammetry and laser scanning to document existing structures that eventually may be visualized and accessible to larger segments of the community by engaging within modern interfaces of virtual reality or augmented reality. So it's a department that values experimentation for documentation, and values documentation for public communication. And this is again one example of learning how to communicate about the project, such as the adaptation of the Pell infrastructure to a larger audience by engaging the public in the experience of bicycling through a bridge through virtual and augmented reality. Speaking about professional practice, we also engage our students in transforming the campus. Not all the time, but one pilot course that was developed a few years ago with the National Science Foundation grants to readapt or construct a new classroom for RISD Nature Lab to support the teaching of biodesign materials. So a group of graduate students in the interior architecture department competed or created an internal competition to integrate living systems in their designs, and one proposal eventually was selected and realized over the summer with the support of the RISD Nature Lab team. And this facility has been now in function over the last years, where not only community members at RISD learn about biodesign materials, but also other individuals in the proximity learn about biodesign materials, such as K-12 students. So this is the design of the RISD students being actually used. And speaking about use, many times also initiatives that are supported by institutions, such as the Cork Lab, an institution that was looking at sustainability by looking at potential uses for cork harvesting industry. And RISD students look at the various of different design solutions for the interior environment, for surface application, repurposing of granular components of cork, and thinking about new applications from lighting, wall elements, canopy elements, and so on. Many times these types of studios on one-to-one involve more than one department. That can be either architecture and design, or in this case, fine arts, where sculpture and textile students together with RISD students learn how to, interior architecture students learn how to inflate and sew ripstop stock fabric to construct a large installation. A case study that I've presented before, collaboration with Saint-Gobain, the industry manufacturer, to look into new wall systems and ceiling systems dealing with acoustics. Many times these same investigations take the public space, as the installation for the Wall of Hope in Rhode Island, students engaging with ceramics, interior architecture, or the recently newly created endowed sustainability lab, a 5-year program looking at materials in New England that the interior architecture department and the landscape architecture department have been developing over the last few months, and it's going to carry on in the future. Here, students are engaging with bricklaying, the bricklaying manufacturer industry in New England. I'll pass it on to my colleague, Wolfgang.
We have a number of wonderful publications in our department that actually characterize our department. And here you see a number of volumes of the INTAR Adaptive Reuse Journal. Was co-founded by Markus Berger, our colleague Markus Berger, Heinrich Herrmann, and Lilian Wang. There were 10 publications reaching from resilience and adaptability to the experience economy, art in context, water as catalyst, difficult memories, reconciling meaning, and in between. The journal is no longer active right now, but there were the most important essays and articles and contributions were published in a book by Birkhäuser, published by Birkhäuser, Interventions and Adaptive Reuse, a decade of adaptive reuse. Well, we have Lilian Wang has 2 publications on adaptive reuse. You may be interested. Adaptive reuse in architecture, a typology index, which was just released, and then adaptive reuse extending the lives of buildings 2016. And then we have a wonderful group of this is Lilian Wang's book, but it would be it's actually a wonderful introduction to adaptive reuse, and definitely interested for you who are interested in adaptive reuse to get a bit of insight into the topic. And our colleague Francesca Leoni, who is the lead faculty for exhibition and narrative environment, she's currently preparing a journal that deals in particular with a critical position in exhibition and narrative environments. And then we have a wonderful group of faculty, Eduardo Duarte, who is here with me, of course, Lilian Wang, Francesca Leoni, Markus Berger, and myself are the full-time faculty at the department. And then we have a fantastic group and long term colleagues in the part-time faculty. And I name here only a few: Jeffrey Katz, Heinrich Herrmann, Jonathan Bell, Elizabeth Debs, Janice Stegman, Paul Pavlik, digital making. You saw an image of him. Skender Lurassi, David DeSalis, who are teaching often in the summer program, Alvaro Gomez, and Johanzeb Shaib and Julia Bernard. So a fantastic group of teachers who then are also often responsible for the special topics for the advanced studios. And yeah, then we have, we are really proud of our alumni. They are really, are all becoming extremely creative members of either the architectural profession and the adaptive reuse profession, or they go into exhibition and narrative environments. And so we have many alumni that are in prestigious companies like Gensler, SOM, Big, Foster and Partners, and HOK. We have and OMA. So I think coming to our department and staying in touch allows you also, I think, to reach out to the alumni of our department and forming a network that will support you in the future. We have fellows, of course. Joyce Cuddy here, the Maharam Fellow in 2019 for her work in exhibition and narrative environments. We have wonderful contributions in all different parts of the world. We have students who are in the fashion industry. We have alumna Grace Yoon here, who is part of Cleve Wilkinson Architects, a rising star in interior design. There are articles written about our alumni, and we are always proud of staying in touch with them and learning about their professional achievements. We have Sui Park here with her wonderful cloud exhibition, and she started this work while at INTAR, and then of course developed it over the years, has had a number of really fantastic exhibitions.
Yes, thank you, Wolfgang. This comes to the end of our presentation, and we're happy to hear questions or read questions. And again, we would like to once again mention how receptive we are from now on to engage with you and with any inquiries that you may have.
Yeah,
that's great. Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, we should mention one piece of information for our, in particular, interesting for our international students. Our programs are STEM accredited. That means that you have the opportunity after graduating from INTAR to work for up to 3 years in the United States in an optional practical training program.
Thank you, Wolfgang. All right, we'll use the rest of the time to answer questions. Feel free to start typing your questions in the Q&A section of Zoom. All questions are welcome. Most likely somebody else has the same question as you, so feel free, don't hesitate. Now is the time to ask the faculty. We do have a question in here already, and I believe you covered this, but no harm in going over it again. If somebody has already has a BARC from an accredited program, are they eligible for the MDes AR program?
I'm happy to take that question. If they are eligible for the MDes program if they don't have an unaccredited. So if they don't have accredited BARC program, yes, they are.
This person already has a BARC, but I think they're asking specifically, even if they have a BARC, can they still do the MDes program?
They can.
Yeah.
Still have a few minutes. You can ask your questions here. You can ask questions about the application, financial aid, if we can answer those questions. Campus life, feel free to type them here. All right, this question, is there financial aid for international students, or is the financial aid by merit? So yes, in general, graduate international students are eligible for fellowships.
Yes. Yeah, and assistantships as well.
Yep. And you can work on campus. Once you come to campus, you'll need to get a social security number. Our International Student Affairs Office and Student Financial Services Office can help you navigate that process. It takes about a month or so, but once you have that, you can also take on campus jobs as well. We had a question earlier on about the Copenhagen program and if that's required. And we did say in the chat that it was a required element of the MA program. And the MDes program also starts in the summer of the first year. That occurs in Providence, Rhode Island, and that is also required.
Yeah, both programs are 9-credit programs, and they are part of the curricula. And yes, they are required, and well, they are actually, as mentioned, a wonderful opportunity to form an entire community, or to bring your cohort together.
Yes, and they are an intensive learning experience, right? If we look into the regular semester, 13-week semester for 15 credits, we're looking at less than half of 13 weeks for more than half credits. So that makes the experience intense, but actually quite productive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got a few questions now. Oh, wonderful. All right, what is the average percentage of students with financial aid?
I would say 90%.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see here. What are the requirements for submitting our portfolio on SlideRoom? If I have a 30-page book, do I export all the pages and upload them individually in SlideRoom? So I can help answer this question. Please do not submit multi-page PDFs in SlideRoom. You can submit up to 20 SlideRoom pages in SlideRoom. And we ask you to curate it down a little bit. But in general, probably one image per slide in SlideRoom. Anything else you'd like to add, Eduardo, on what you're looking for?
In SlideRoom, we're looking for an understanding of what do you want to get from this graduate experience. We want to understand honest portrait of yourself, in the sense that for students that do not have a design background or do not have an art background, they don't necessarily have to rush and get training in a specific software so that they show us how they can draw. It's mostly that you really, in your essay and in the way you photograph your work and you write the captions about your work, that you are honest about what you're looking, what you're representing, and how you want to study at RISD. What do you want to study at RISD? What do you want to study in interior architecture, and why RISD? Why do you want to study with this faculty, and what do you want to achieve?
That's great. Thank you, Eduardo. So this is kind of, you kind of talked about this, but if an applicant doesn't have a background in interior architecture, what are you looking for to see in the portfolio for that applicant?
We're, again, it's a committee. It's a committee of faculty. All full-time faculty are involved in assessing portfolios. And what we're looking for is essentially your motivation to study at RISD. And the motivation may come from the way that you honor your work and that you write a caption about your work, that you credit if it's about student work, that you credit the collaborators that you may have work with, you credit the instructor that you have worked with, but also, most of all, you really reflect in your essay of what you learned from every single work that you place in your slide room. So it's not something that you can put together in 3 days. Sometimes it can, but the more thorough you are, the more clear understanding we are about your motivation.
Yeah, we are really interested in your, learning about your creativity and learning about your ideas and concepts, and your enthusiasm, I think, for the field. So it can be presented in many different ways. It could be a video clip. It could be a series of drawings. It could be in the form of painting. There are many photography. Of course, there are many ways to represent your thoughts and your interest in the field. And as Eduardo pointed out, we are not really looking at a particular template that you have to fulfill all kinds of categories within your portfolio submittal, but just show your true interest, your creativity in the field.
Great. Next question is, how large are the programs, the 3 programs?
Yeah, so the programs in our department, the MA program ranges between 7 to 14 students. The average would be about 8 to 10. The adaptive reuse program ranges from 20 to 24 students, and the exhibition and narrative environments ranges from 10 to 12. When I say range, I'm speaking about the last 5 years of the programs.
And together with our undergraduate program, there are always about between 110 and 120 students in our department.
Great. And the last question, are there any one more slipped in. Are there any limitations to what the electives can be for the MA program?
No.
That's good. Yep. And students at RISD can also cross-register at Brown University as well with their elective credits, if it works with their schedule.
Yeah.
Yes, just about the electives, one thing that is important, it's to always, many electives are pending on instructor authorization, so they do not necessarily depend of our department. You might be enrolled in the MA program, but if you want to take a class, let's say in graphic design or in textiles, you always need to work with the instructor and the other in that same course. And also you also have to look into your schedule. If the classes do not coincide, then you have a chance to pursue your goal.
That. And all right, and this is an admissions question, and I know it varies from year to year, but what are like generally the acceptance rates for the different programs?
There's really not a general answer, right? We have we work with, we admit candidates that we want to work with, so that always depends of the volume of applicants. So that's why our ranges in terms of accepted students differ from year to year. If there is a large number of candidates that we want to work with, we push our numbers to a larger acceptance rate. If by some specific implication we don't have the applicants that we want to work with, the range is a little bit smaller. Sorry, the number of accepted applicants is a little bit smaller.
That's great, thank you, Eduardo. And that really, it's the same for all of our graduate degree programs. There isn't like a standard acceptance rate. They all vary. All the programs are different sizes. So it's a tricky question to answer.
I tried, but I might give it a wrong answer.
No, that's great, Eduardo. Thank you. All right. We just went in a little bit over. That's our time. It looks like we went through all the questions. If anybody has questions after this, you can feel free to email us at admissions@risd.edu. As Eduardo said, he's happy to answer any questions and work with people up until the deadline. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. And make sure you start your application now. The deadline is January 5th. And I hope to see you at some of our other sessions this week.
And thank you so much, Jen. Let me just say that once you reach out to us in the department, not only me be reading your email, but and Karen hasn't been very verbal today, but Karen is of incredible support and guidance. And as well as I will connect you with the current graduate students that are enrolled in the program that may help you also navigate questions that you might want to ask or you don't want to ask us directly. So again, take the initiative and reach out to the department. We're happy to host you in person in campus. We're happy to have one-on-one Zoom sessions with you. So feel free to again, until the deadline, reach out to us.
That's great. Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you, Wolfgang. Thank you, Karen, for joining us.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
That's it, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.